Hello everyone. Today we have a super cool video. I am making a chunky blanket. So this was my first time ever doing it, and it was really exciting to see how cool it came out. I ended up adding more to what I thought I was going to need, but it was really cool, and I really liked how you could trim it to how you like it, or make it bigger or smaller, or add different colors. And for my first time doing this project, I thought it was fairly easy. Some parts were a little tricky based on the video I watched, so I'm going to make a video based on maybe clarifying a little bit of that, and I hope you enjoy. I hope you get to learn how to make this chunky blanket, so let's get right into it. So these are the only materials you're gonna need. I added more than what I have here. I did 9 of these wraps total. I say wrap and I mean that little ball of yarn in each color. So I had 3 of each. I had 3 blue, 3 black, and 3 white. So this is how we're gonna start. We're gonna cross it over and make a teeny loop, and then make another loop and bring it right through. Be careful not to make this loop too huge, because all the rest of your loops should be an equal size to it, so I would not make it bigger than your hand to just about fit in it. Again, that's the biggest I would go. I would actually go smaller. You could do chunkier blankets that are looser and chunky blankets that are knotted together much more tightly. The tighter you do the knots, the tinier that little loop needs to be. The looser you want to do the knots, the bigger that can be. You're going to want to keep continuing this process, and I did not listen when the person that told me said 15 to 25 of these loops, and it actually made me have to redo this whole first layer. So please only do 15 to 25 knots. I got 26 in because I did them semi-small, but you can't even go till 30 or you will run out of yarn to do at least 5 rows unless you want it super, super loose. It's however you want it. We're going to keep going through this little pattern of pulling the loops through. So make a little loop with the scrunched up yarn that you have and pull it through the front of the little loop that you already have. This process is very simple, but could be a little difficult to pick up, but once you pick it up, it will fly by. The cool part is you can already see that this braid is forming, and it's going to be really cool, and it doesn't take long to see results, which I really like, because when I'm doing something for hours and I don't see any results, it's kind of annoying, and it feels like I'm getting nowhere. So I really like this project that I get to see my results really early on. Another cool thing is if you mess up or if you don't like how it is, it's so easy to just pick up and start over. It really isn't super time consuming once you get what you're doing, and it's not the end of the world if you mess something up. You can real quick go back, pull a few loops out. You could even pull up to a few rows out and be fine. So now, if anything, this next part's going to be the hardest part. So you're going to take this loop, and this is going to be your first loop for your second row. So that loop that I previously had in my hand was the last one for that row. That loop that I just pulled through is my first one for my second row. So now we're going to pull through loops in those little spaces between our yarn in the last row. So between every single one, in every single space, you're going to pull a new loop up, and that is what is going to start your second row. They look a little stupid now with the little loops sticking out, but make sure you count however many you're doing, those 15 to 25 loops in your very first row, and once you have your set number, do one more, and that's going to be that loop that you see kind of that looks like it's sticking out at the end of the blanket. That's going to be that one, but really it starts off the next row. It won't look like this necessarily for the next few rows. This is just the starting row, so it's kind of hard to see. But like I said, pull through every single space, and it's going to start to look like this. I'm trying to give a lot of example through this video and not so much talking, because I feel like the video I watched to make my blanket did the opposite, and it was very hard to understand what exactly I was doing, so the pictures helped me more. So let me just try to explain it one more time. You're taking your yarn and making little loops and pulling it through the spaces that you have previously made on your first row. If you can't really see, you can zoom in to where the exact point that I'm pulling these loops up from, but you don't really want any space in between your loops and the yarn, and you want all of your loops to be near the same size. It's not the end of the world if they aren't, but your blanket will look much better if they are. Please rewatch this however many times that you want to get it, because it is a little complicated, and it might just be my brain, but it took me a little while to figure it out, even though it's really not that complicated once you really look at it and get the hang of it. So keep trying, and I bet you'll get there soon. Okay, so now I'm going to give you kind of like an up-close kind of view of it. So you see that little space in between those loops, or those braids you made earlier? That is going to be where you pull your loop up from underneath. So as we're finishing the end of a row, we did our last loop on that row, and we're going to do another one in the same exact spot. It is going to look like you did 2 loops in a row, but really one is finishing that first row and the next is starting the second row. It kind of seems a little stupid at first, but you'll see how it goes eventually. For every time that you start a new row, technically you're going to have to do 2 in the same spot, but again, one is finishing the previous row and one is starting the new row. After every single row you do, you want to count your loops to make sure you have the same amount that you started with, so that number that I told you between 15 and 25, unless you want to go more and have less rows. You're going to want to make sure you count and you have that number in your head and you have that many loops each time, because if not, your blanket is going to be deformed and there's going to be something really wrong with your blanket and it's not going to look right. when you start on a different color, I would advise to start at the end of the row. It goes in more smoothly, and you don't really have a super big gap or noticeable color switch. It's very seamless, and as long as you tie a simple shoelace knot, it should be easy enough. I doubled, sometimes tripled, even quadrupled the knot if I had enough string, depending on what I did. You can either tuck the little wings in, or you can just cut them off. Again, that last blue one would be the first one in the same spot, and the first white one would be the second one in the same spot. Loops in the same exact spot, but really you're finishing one row and starting the next. It's going to be that starting the next where you want to pull in that different color. Make sure when you do the loop though at the last or the very end of your blanket, it's already looped in, and then you tie it, because if you tie it before you finish the loop, kind of like I did right there, I actually had to undo the whole blanket, and it's not a huge deal, but you need that loop to go through the blanket. So now you can see it again. We are starting our next row, and it kind of blends in semi-seamlessly because it just starts like you're using a new color and that you didn't pick up halfway through. Depending on how early you go or how late you go with the loop in terms of that first or second loop in the same spot, it might make it a little more uneven. So say we are finished with the whole entire blanket, no matter how big you wanted to do it, a throw or comforter size, you're going to pull your last two loops through like you would on any other row. However, you're just doing the first two loops, and then you're taking that second loop, pulling it through the first loop, and then that is going to be your only loop. You're going to then pull a loop through the third row like you would on any other, and pull the second one through the third one, and that third one then becomes your single loop. I don't know if this is easy to explain, but I'm sorry. I hope I'm doing a good job. And you're going to keep going, and you can already see that you are already going to get a little bit of a braid there. My camera was not really focusing, but I was trying my best to show you how we are going to get a loop like any other row and pull it through the loop before that, and that is going to make your single loop so you can finish off that blanket. You are going to do that all the way down. I'm going to try to explain from a different angle, maybe this helps, but you are going to pull it through like any other row, because if you've made it this far to the end of the blanket, that means you would have had to do many rows to be a pro at looping through. So you're going to take the previous loop and then put the new loop through that, and that one becomes your loop, or your single loop. So make the loop, pull it through the other one, and that one becomes your next loop. So one more time, pull the loop through the second time, and there you go. Again, do that all the way down, and then we'll see how to tie the knot afterwards. I'm going to continue to show this example to hopefully help people understand. I know I feel like I've said this a million times, but as always, like we have been doing this whole entire blanket, you are going to pull a loop through and then pull it through the inside of the previous loop. So pull the loop through and then pull it through the previous single loop we've had. You can see the braid of the end of this blanket looks really stretched, and it's going to because you're finishing out the blanket, but it really isn't that bad once it's completely done. This is the complete braid. I'm trying my best to show you, but of course it's black yarn, so I don't know how well you can see it, but this is the braid. You will notice that the braid starting the blanket and the braid finishing the blanket look the exact same. It's because they are the exact same. As well, for the middle looking the exact same as all the rest of them, it is all the same. So that first little braid that I'm showing you right here is the same exact one as the last one. Therefore, now finishing, getting to our last 2 loops, we are going to pull the one before it through, and now you see we have that little teeny bit left, and we are just going to do a shoelace knot. It might be hard to tie since you only have one open knot, but just try your best to really get it knotted because this will come undone if this knot is not knotted. This is probably one of the biggest knots of the blanket that you need to have done. So just make sure you have this really tightly knotted. No matter how chunky it looks, the whole blanket looks chunky, and you could even knot it on multiple sides of that last loop, or just string it through, which is what we're going to do with our leftover string that we started with on the other side. You can barely notice that. You're gonna like little tuck that little edge of the blanket in, and then you have a super smooth end of the blanket. You are also going to take this little string that we started with at the very beginning. You can cut it off, or you can snake it through. I decided to snake it through because I'm not gonna waste it for no reason. If I could just snake it through, you could always tie it. It just makes it look pretty, and you barely even notice it is there. So this is going to be our finished product. I just wanted to show you it. I wanted to stand up with this blanket so you guys can see how completely huge it is. It is gigantic. I am so excited with it, and I love the colors so much. You can see I made a looser, chunky blanket, and that's why mine has so many holes, or what looks like holes in it. But it's so warm that the holes don't even matter. Also, it doesn't look as whole-like when you lay it down. This is it on my bed. I have a full-size bed, and it definitely hangs down all sides of my bed, for sure. So this could definitely fit on a queen-size bed, and if you made it bigger and did less rows and more lines, it could probably even fit on a king-size bed. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised. Even if you want it just for your living room as a nice little throw, it's super cute, and you can make it whatever colors you want and whatever design you want. All you need is the fabric and your hands, and that's it. Thank you guys.
Thanks so much for watching this video. It might be a little complicated at first. Just keep trying it, and if you've done it over and over again and you can't try it, just step away. That is my favorite thing to do, especially when I'm making stuff, because it is so easy to get frustrated and mess the whole thing up. So for me, it's easier to just take a break. This project took me about a week, and I wasn't rushing. So I really hope you enjoyed making this project. I hope your chunky blanket came out just as cool as mine did, if not cooler. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you always get to see my videos, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.